Scott came into our office with what's called Antalgic Gait. So essentially, he wasn't able to ambulate properly for his legs when he walked due to an accident and a pelvic fracture several years ago. Now that has since healed, but what has left over has been some misalignments in the hips and some compression of some of the joints and the joint spaces. So in other words, things are not working the way they should be. Now at our office, we try to be more thorough than the average chiropractor. So we don't want to just pop and get you out the door. We look at the muscles, we look at the tendons, we look at the ligaments and the joint capsules themselves, and we look at the compression, decompression. We measure joint spaces, and we want to make sure that as scientifically accurately as possible, we make a good diagnosis and we try to help you as thoroughly as possible. So in Scott's case, we had a misalignment of the hips, so things had healed in a rotation pattern, and there was also some compression there and some joint spaces that were crammed on top of themselves. So the plan is to open up everything, create more space in the joints, and rotate the hips back into alignment. Brendan, he's our lead therapist here, has done a lot of the soft tissue work for Mr. Scott. So walk us through some of the stuff that we worked on today.
So primarily you want to focus the anterior and the posterior aspect of the hips, along with the transverse axis of the hips as well, which allow for rotation. When we come to the anterior aspect, you want to focus on these flexor muscles of the hips. So that's primarily this connection point for the quads that come down to the knees here. This is going to allow for hip flexion. So this is the bottom portion here. Then you want to work towards the superior portion of the hips here. So we're going to start targeting iliacus, going into the iliopsoas, along with some other deep flexor muscles here on the front side of the hips. And then, so by releasing those, we get more range of motion, more mobility, more functionality overall. And then on the back side, on the posterior side, so if he were to go ahead and turn around, we want to target the posterior side of the hips, which primarily focuses a lot of these glutes here and the extensors going down into the hamstrings, popliteals on the back side of the knee here. By releasing the anterior and the posterior side of the hips here, we can get more flexion and more extension of the hips, and then working these rotators through like going into the core of the QLs on this back side, frontal obliques and transverse obliques, we can get more rotation on the transverse axis. By releasing that, we get more blood flow, range of motion, mobility. He can get a better walking gait. From a soft tissue aspect, that's what we like to target. I go in manually with my hands, do a lot of manual work, active release therapy, active release technique, a lot of stretching, and a lot of muscle manipulation for movement.
We're going to do a decompressive maneuver. This is something that's often neglected in a lot of offices, but we always pick it up here when necessary. Perfect. And we're going to come right here on the left leg. Perfect. I'm going to bring this up here now. Now I'm going to have you squeeze your knees together. Perfect. That's a little bit of an uncomfortable adjustment, but it's necessary in certain situations because the hip conjoins in the front and the back. Most chiropractors do only work on the back side when they rotate and pop the back of the hip, but we want to make sure we get this front joint as well. Bring this around here now. I'm going to do what's called side posture there. Over here on this side. Perfect. And now we're just going to open up the chest, and so that he can sit on his hips in a proper axis. Perfect. And I like to do the neck even when the neck isn't the main area of injury, because you're designed to keep your eyes level with the horizon. So if your eyes are off a little bit, your hips are going to follow the opposite direction. So there's the adjustment. Now we're going to see how he does afterwards.